Hey, welcome back to the YouTube UniTec Digital Media channel. And today we have another hot seat, and we are branching out to the southern end of St. Francis County, and we're bringing in former North County student.
I was going to say, it's not branching out too much since I graduated.
That's true. Mr. Todd McKinney. And Todd McKinney's interview was made courtesy of your good old buddy, Brian Jones.
That's kind of what I figured.
Yeah, you figured that would be it.
You said a classmate, I thought that's probably who it was.
Yeah, there was only a few.
He didn't get to pick the questions, did he?
No, he didn't ask any of these questions.
Good.
So
that would make it to where we'd have to just cut this thing right away.
Are you ready, sir, to get to it?
I guess so.
Okay, here we go. How many years in education for you?
This is my 24th year.
24th?
Yeah.
Wow.
It actually, it doesn't feel like it's flying by as you're doing it, but it certainly seems like it flew by when you look back and say 24 years in education. That's a long time. So.
That is a long time.
It's hard to believe it's been 24 years.
Okay, this might take a while. Walk us through all the jobs you've had in education, because you've worked a lot of different, Farmington, but a lot of different positions.
Well, actually, it's not all Farmington. I started out at Windsor High School in the career.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
yes, I remember now.
I did my student teaching at Windsor, and my student teaching I did up there, and I actually coached football while I was doing my student teaching. A guy named Dan Hamm got me involved with that. He was married to, at the time he was married to Brenda Hampton, who's over at the middle school, and they lived across the street from me, and he taught me into going up there because he knew Coach Gatto, who I played high school football with, and he asked me to come up there and do my student teaching and help coach, and that's what got me in the door coaching varsity football. So I coached up there, and then I got a job there teaching. I taught 2 years and coached football there for 2 more years prior to coming to Farmington. So then I came to Farmington in, I guess it was 99-2000 school year, and I spent the first 3 years in the Farmington School District working in an alternative school for kids who were struggling in regular school. Also, kids from the Children's Home, Presbyterian Children's Home, was a thing at that time. So, I spent those first 3 years doing that, and I came down here and coached football also. And after 3 years of working in the alternative school and coaching with Mike Tebow there in Farmington, John Bacon took over as the head coach, and I became his defensive coordinator in football. And I moved to the high school and started teaching social studies at that time. And I spent, I guess I'd have to do some math, but I spent several years teaching social studies and coaching football. And after my kids were born, when they were young, I took about 2 years off from coaching and actually finished up my admin degree and became the dean of students at high school. And at that time, I had given up coaching, like I said, became the dean of students, but then I decided to get back in coaching. And W.L. Sanders was the superintendent at Farmington at that time, and I told him, I said, well, I'd really like to get back into coaching. And he said, well, we'll let you do both. You can be the dean of students and coach. So I actually went back and coached baseball and football. It's the first time I coached baseball. And that was good. I enjoyed coaching baseball. I had never done it before. I played baseball and initially set off to play college baseball at Mac, and really hadn't had much to do with baseball since then. So, getting to coach baseball and football both, it was a good experience. So I did that for a few years, and then I did that, I guess, for around 4 or 5 years. And then when I got hired as the assistant middle school principal and athletic director, I've been there now. This is actually my 9th year in middle school. Most people don't know that because it's kind of a quiet transition. But I went there and became middle school assistant principal. I also was put in charge of character education for our school district. So I ran a character education program. I still handle that at the secondary level, 7 through 12. Although this year, our focus has just been keeping our heads above water this year.
Right.
Look forward to getting back into that next year, full force. And then I became the athletic director of the middle school also because we have a lot of programs, a lot of things going on. And John Bacon's the athletic director at the high school, and really it was just becoming such a job that they needed to break that up a little bit, so they made me the middle school athletic director. So those are, in a nutshell, that's what I've been doing for 24 years.
That's a big nutshell.
And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, but you've done well for yourself. All right, so let's go back to your high school days now.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what sport, but give me the most memorable game you had as a player.
Well, I hate to do that. Some of them are memorable for good reasons and some of them for bad. I will say Well, we'll go with baseball because that's a good, clean memory.
Okay.
My junior year in high school,
Yeah.
we won the conference tournament championship over Wilson Rozier that year. We had a really good team in baseball my junior year. And that particular night, Judd Weibel threw, I was catching. I had a good night behind the plate. He had a good night pitching, and I had a good night at the plate. That night it seemed like I couldn't swing and miss. So it was a good night. We won the conference tournament championship that night, and also that night found out I'd been named to an all-conference team that year. So it was exciting. That was a good
Who did
night.
you beat in that game?
We beat Central. I do
Beat
remember.
Central,
Yeah, we
okay.
actually. And the reason I remember that, unfortunately, they came back and returned the favor in the district championship game.
Yeah.
They beat us with Deanie Archer pitching. And, he threw well. He threw real well. Actually, he threw a perfect game against us in the district championship. Judd threw outstanding in the conference tournament championship game, and then Deanie got him in the district tournament championship game. So, and the conference was loaded that year. There was all kinds of talent. My junior year in high school, there was all kinds of talent. So it was just an unbelievable year. So that was a lot of fun, and that's the one I'll talk about. There's other games where, Brian, I'm sure wanted you to ask me about the Hillsborough football
Yeah, that's
game.
where I was thinking.
But and I'm sure that's what he would want, because he actually sent Brian actually sent video clips of that game to the coaches in Farmington with just edited portions of it.
Oh.
Yeah, for them to watch and give me a hard time about. So I won't talk about that.
Okay.
Even though that's what he would have wanted.
Yeah, exactly. Favorite teammates from back in the day?
So many, so many. I mean, honestly, gosh, the guys I played with, those guys really, we were very. I'll say this about North County High School growing up. Very different than what I see now in high school. We were very tight knit, and everybody kind of did everything. I was telling somebody the other day, I had tried talking my son into being in the school play a number of times, because he would really enjoy it. But at Farmington, it seems like there's not a lot of intermixing of that. You either do this or you're involved in
more specialized. Yeah.
It is very specialized, and it's not as tight knit. It's not as kids don't cross over much. When I was in high school, I told kids in my senior year I was in the school play in the Outsiders, and, with Tom Moon and anyway, and all the guys.
Great cast, too.
Brad and Sean and JJ and Dave, everybody, everybody was in it, and it was a good time. But teammates, as far as teammates, those guys. From my junior and my senior year, I guess, is when I was closest with a group of guys. And in football, you had JJ and Donnie and Brian, Sean Bailey, Willie McDavid, Russ Montgomery, Todd Dole. You had so many guys, and I'm sure Chris White. In baseball, my junior year, Judd, I was actually very close to Judd. Of course, I caught every game he ever pitched, so you tend to develop a relationship with those guys. David Hoskin, again, Crump, McDavid, White, Brad White, a lot of guys. There's way more than that, but those are some of the guys that I spent a lot of time with, and we did during those. Seemed like during each season you spent a ton of time outside of the sport with those guys hanging out. Way more time, I think, than kids spend today together, because I think today, I think kids, their communication is a lot of times on their phones, through social media, or even playing video games together and playing separate sites. So they just don't hang out as much as they used to.
I know. If you were in charge of Nisha and you could change anything about sports, what would you change?
I don't know. I haven't put any thought into that. There's a lot of things that always kind of bother me.
Right.
When it comes to rules and regulations that guide sports. I would say, I don't, because just recently we've really been flying by the seat of our pants. But I don't think Michigan's done a bad job of adapting. At the time, it seems like some of the stuff is a knee-jerk reaction to COVID, but at the same time, I don't know that anybody could do a better job if they were in their spot of trying to balance all the different thoughts and guidelines and regulations that come out from health departments and stuff. So I think, to be honest, I think Mich overall really does a pretty good job. I really do. So I can't say that I can't say that there's anything I can think of right now that changed. Sometimes people talk about transfer rules, but I understand why they're in place, because you get a lot of moving around and things like that. And truthfully, nowadays, I don't think that you're going to do anything to stop that. I think if people decide that they want their kid to go play elsewhere with sports, they will move. Yeah. They will have a full family move, and that's not a question. You know, a full family move is never going to be questioned. So people will up and move if they have the resources and rent an apartment in that district. So, you know, I don't think that's one of the things I've heard complained about is people moving into a district or out of the district. But I don't think there's anything Michigan really do to effectively stop that.
Best advice for young coaches?
Young coaches, I think young coaches, I'll tell you this, I became a better teacher and a better coach when I had kids of my own.
Right.
Because you realize that's somebody's kid. You know, I as a young coach, I felt like you could be harder on kids before I had kids. I felt like, you can be hard, and that's a good thing to be hard on a kid and be, just blatantly honest with them. And when I had kids of my own, it really forced me to reflect on, how am I talking to them? Would I want somebody speaking to Max like that? Or would I want somebody speaking to Anna like that? And I think I became a better coach when I realized that this is somebody's Max and this is somebody's Anna. And I became a better teacher and coach when I realized that, because then I think I just became more respectful. I would say it's to be very respectful, have a relationship with those kids that you're coaching. And and put some thought into, I think I treat a young coach a lot like I treat a middle school student.
Yeah.
Is I tell middle school boys at the beginning of every year, I say, if you would just spend 15 seconds thinking about that thing that you're going to say or you're going to do, or you're going to go show somebody, if you spend 15 seconds thinking about that thing in advance, it'll save you hours of detention and ISS. Well, young coaches really the same way. They're very emotional. They're coaches. They're very competitive. And sometimes they need to stop and think and be a little more reflective before they go and do something. Young coaches are very impulsive. And they need to think more and talk less a lot of times.
How about best advice for people wanting to get into refereeing and umpiring?
We need them. If you can jog and you can blow a whistle, they'll take you right now. I mean, there's a real shortage. Last week we were supposed to play a game in Fredericton, and the game got moved from Thursday to Friday, and by Friday, one day's notice, that wasn't enough. We could, Coach Eves down there, Derek, he's the AD of Fredericktown. He couldn't find an umpire for the game on Friday, and they're just not there. And the people who are doing it are getting real close to retiring. So I think right now it's a great way to supplement your income because they make pretty good money doing these things. If you can put up with a little bit of criticism, have a little thicker skin, I think you can do it's probably way better than most part-time jobs. So I would recommend the kids who played a sport or are just passionate about sports, boys or girls, either one, if they have any interest in that sport still, or any sport, they know the rules of the game, to check it out and see about getting registered to do that, because we need them. We need them badly. It's hard to find officials.
It is.
It is. It's really hard.
No doubt.
And I have to deal with a lot of that as a middle school athletic director, and it's tough. And so being a shortage, it's forcing salaries to go up for officials. The money you pay them, the stipends you give them, it's forcing that to go up too. So I think they're going to get paid better and better here in the next few years. So,
how did you finally convince your wife to date you?
I was waiting for a time where she had low self-esteem, and that's what we jokingly tell boys: find a really pretty girl with low self-esteem.
Yeah.
And then you can marry up. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, she thought I was funny. And,
she thought you were funny?
She thought I was funny.
Oh,
And
okay.
apparently I had a moment where I was funny, and she thought I was funny. And she was more attracted to humor, thank God, because I didn't have a lot else to offer. I had a car that leaked oil and a mullet. So, there wasn't a lot there other than being funny. So that's how, and I've been dating her since she was a freshman and I was a sophomore at North County. So,
how long altogether?
1989 was the first time we dated. So what was that, 30 years in 2019? So 32 years that we've been together. So, our first date was in 1989. I remember that. Went to a Cardinal game. And
man, you did well first day.
Well, we went to a Cardinal game on a youth trip. With
okay.
Deloge First. I didn't take her to the game.
Okay.
But we went with the Deloge First Baptist Youth Group in 1989, and I remember it's been this way ever since. I missed back-to-back home runs in a game going to get her an ice cream. All 3 home runs hit back-to-back because I left to get her ice cream.
And you would have done it again?
I would. Yes, that's a good save. I would do it again. Yeah.
That's right. There you go, Kristen.
Yeah.
What is the coolest thing about your son, Max?
Max is very creative. It's funny because Max is really like his mom. Kristen's very creative. She was always very artistic. And Max, I will say, one thing about him is he really works very, very hard. In anything that he enjoys, he works really hard at it. But it turns out the things he works really, really hard at are the things that he's not gifted in. He doesn't really have a passion for the things that he's just really comes easy to him. He doesn't work nearly as hard at the things that are easier. But he works extremely hard at the things he's not gifted in. For instance, Max is not athletic. My son is going to be a college baseball player next year at Southwest Baptist University, which is a Division II school. If you would have told me when he was 7 or 8 years old that he was going to be able to play baseball at the Division II level, I would have said, there's not a chance. You know, he's not made like that. He's big and slow, and he's just not athletic. He's not super athletic, I should say. Obviously, you have to have some athleticism to be able to hit or throw a baseball. But he's not a Division II athlete, but he's going to be playing Division II baseball. So I think it's his commitment to improving in those areas that he's passionate about, and he's also very creative. He's a very funny kid, but he's a quiet funny. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't say anything, and then all of a sudden he'll snipe you with something that just absolutely it gets you. So, and that's how Krista is. Krista actually lays back and she's a sniper.
Oh, yeah.
And my friends love that about my wife, because I will be on a roll, I will be saying something thinking that I'm funny, and I may throw her under the bus on something just jokingly, and then she absolutely tears into me. And my friends, with stuff that
Right.
cuts. And then my friends, people like Brian, for instance, he's one of them that enjoys that, and Dave Williams enjoys that. Dave was also one of those teammates, and he really wasn't a baseball or football teammate. He was just a guy, and he played baseball in the summer, you know Dave. And he was one of my best friends also in high school, and played some sports together. And guys like him, guys like Brian, guys like Casey Jenkins, those guys, they absolutely love it when my wife gets started on me. Max has that same sense of humor.
Yeah, I would have loved to have had him in this class too.
He loves it. By the way, have you seen his hot takes
Oh,
show?
yeah.
Him and Jacob Jarvis do the hot takes, and they love it. Mindy Southern, she does a great job with them. She gave them the freedom just to do that. They said, we'd like to do something like this. She's like, go for it. So they enjoy it. So yeah. All
right, what's the best part about Anna?
Anna is just like me.
Yeah.
Max is just like his mom, and my daughter is just like me. She's very, very competitive. She is a spark plug, man. She's got a lot of energy. If you watched her play basketball, she's got a lot of energy out there, but that's just from an athletic standpoint. The thing I like most about her, she has, and really I would say this about both of my kids, they really have their priorities straight, because the things that matter the most are the things that they put first. Both my kids are very, very involved in SOS and FCA at the high school. Both of them are leaders within those clubs. And like my son, I said, he's going to Southwest Baptist University. And the reason he's doing that, the reason he chose Southwest, he wanted to go there whether he could play baseball there or not, because it is actually a Christian college. And both of my kids actually have that as their number one priority in their life, and they've got that figured out. And really, that's really how Krista was growing up as well, And it's where I was trying to be. I didn't get there for a while, but my kids as teenagers have that figured out. What's first is this, that my first priority is my faith, and then I have school. We'll get our job done in school and make sure that we do all the things that are required of us, take care of our business. But then they also give it their all in sports, and they have a good tight circle of friends. It's not a huge circle; it's a good circle, and so they have their priorities straight. And Anna is very, very stubborn, and it's a good thing. It's a good stubborn, and I say that she's a lot like her mom in that. Extremely stubborn for doing the right thing, and you can't convince her otherwise. Once she gets her mind made up, you're not going to convince her otherwise, and you're not going to get her to sway from that. So they're both very solid as teenagers. I like where they're at.
How do you balance being a parent and an administrator when you watch your kids play? Because I've watched you at basketball games, and you kind of go off by yourself and do your own thing.
I try to sit by myself. On purpose, I try to sit by myself, because one, there's some things I probably mumble. I don't say the loud things.
Yeah.
The loud things are never anything that are knock on wood. The loud things are never anything that could get me somebody frown upon what I'm saying.
Right.
But I'm afraid that I'm going to mumble something about my kid's play or another kid's play or a coach's decision. I'm afraid I'm going to mumble something that really shouldn't be mumbled. Just because I'm very passionate about sports.
Yeah, man.
I'm very passionate about sports. I love to watch it, and I'm very competitive. And I can sit at home and watch a Cardinal game and I'm yelling that same stuff at the TV with nobody in the room.
Yeah.
Well, that's how I watch a sporting event. I'm very animated. I'm very loud. So I sit by myself because I try to not be heard as much as is possible. So that's why I sit over by myself. Now I am actually many times the administrator actually in charge, and I would also have to go take care of issues of somebody else who was yelling these same things, that I'm trying very hard not to say about anybody's player, the other team, or the officiating. I'm just trying not to say those things. And one thing that helps me is knowing that if I'm on duty, I'm going to have to go tell somebody else not to say or do that thing, say that thing to an official. So that kind of helps me to keep in line at a sporting event, because I know I can't be a hypocrite here and yell about an official's call and then go tell somebody else, hey, you need to keep it down. So it kind of helps being an official. But as far as a parent standpoint, my son and my daughter are very different. My son, he could care less what I say or where I'm at, or he just doesn't care. He doesn't care. It doesn't bother him at all. My daughter's like, you need to sit there and be quiet. She does not want me yelling. So it's funny, and you can hear a lot better in the gym than you can outside.
Yeah, I know, right?
So Anna does not like to hear her dad at a game. And Max, he may not like it, but he doesn't
bother.
He doesn't seem to care too much.
Yeah.
So
who would play you in a movie if there was a movie about the life of Todd McKinney?
boy, I don't know. Who would play you in a movie? Gosh, I don't know. I really don't know.
Do you have a favorite actor that maybe through technology we could make kind of look like you?
Not really. The kids used to. This has been 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But the kids used to say there was a wrestler. I can't remember his name.
John Cena.
John Cena.
Yeah.
That's what the kids said. The kids said John Cena, and I didn't even know who that
Class,
was.
does this guy look like John Cena?
Yes. They used to say that.
Yeah.
So the kids used to say that 5 years. I haven't heard it nearly as much in about 5 years. And of course, he's a lot bigger.
So that's a
but if you could
compliment.
get,
He's a ripped dude.
well, if you could get John Cena to get a 47-year-old man body, he could play me. He could. So.
How'd you get the nickname Skin Dog?
That was Kelly Pope.
Kelly Pope.
That was Coach
okay.
Pope. Yeah, and it's funny because, I got called that. I still get called that by people from North County.
Right,
If
yeah.
anybody sees me from North County, that's what they call me, Skin Dog. So by the way, kids at school now are going to see this, or somebody will. That's all going to pop up at Farmington again. Appreciate that.
No problem.
Kids, that's when kids first started calling people dog.
Right,
Something
yeah.
dog this, dog that. So that's when kids first started doing that. Was back in, what year was that? I was in 8th
Late
grade. You were in
80s.
7th grade.
Yeah.
So, gosh, that was the late 80s. They started calling people dog, and then people would call my brother Skinny. You probably remember that. So they called it was Skinny McKinney. And so he took Skinny and dog, and he made it Skin Dog. And he just started calling me that at basketball practice, Skin Dog. And and then everybody said Skin Dog. Okay, we'll use that. So everybody started calling me Skin Dog from 8th grade on. And that's basically the only thing I was referred to as by any guy.
Yeah.
Any guy.
Yeah. So Krista didn't call you
Krista
that.
did not call me that.
Do you like me Skin Dog? That was the note.
No, that was
okay.
never a thing. As a matter of fact, she's like, people need to stop with the whole Skin Dog thing. But eventually she just accepted it.
Favorite teacher you had in class?
Too many. Honestly,
Right.
I
Give me
can't
a
say
couple.
I can't say I had
Just
one favorite. I had a lot of favorite teachers. I loved having Bill Martin in math.
Yeah.
I liked Janet Barton. Janet was. I had Janet in history, and she was. I thought she was an outstanding teacher. Coach Gammon. I mean Steve Gimmer in middle school and shop. I had a lot, and teachers really meant a lot to me. Growing up, that's why I got into education and coaching, was because of teachers and coaches. So I almost hated to name names because there's way more than just those folks.
Right.
I liked so many of them. If I sat here and thought about it, I could probably give you 30 names of teachers that really meant something to me, from elementary school and up. And elementary, the guy that probably meant the most to me at a time when I was younger, was just ornery and didn't have an idea of how to act, was Coach Blunt.
Yeah.
Dave Blunt was incredible. Everybody that went through Bonne Terre Elementary School, and then I was fortunate enough to have Dave Blunt as a high school baseball coach with Steve Gimmer then, and he was just an incredible influence. Other coaches, Mike Gatto, Mike Henderson, all these guys, Coach Gammon, all these guys, Coach Pope, all these guys did a great job. Then I had a great summer coach also, a couple of them, guys like Leon Peterson and then Dave Gibson.
Yeah.
Those guys were all very meaningful to me. They played a huge role in my life because my parents were divorced, so I didn't really. I was, as far as being around men who would really shape your life, it was coaches and teachers. So they played a huge role in my life.
Who's some of the best teachers you've seen in action in the classroom? Ones you've worked with, ones you've helped be
Gosh,
their administrator?
there's so many. I mean, as far as like at Farmington High School, there's just so many people who I worked with that were great teachers. And again, I hate to name names, but I'm going to name a few just to come off the top of my head. You know, Brian Reeves, who works over there now, kind of as the college advisor, gets kids enrolled in like the college class, stuff like that. He was a history teacher, probably the smartest human being I've ever met.
Yeah.
Brian Reeves, Dr. Reeves, and he's an incredible teacher. Bobby Upchurch, you know, Brandon McIntyre's over. Brandon's a good coach. They all have a great relationship with kids. Jackie Watson, my kids have her now. She does an incredible job. There's so many people over there, and that's just a few of them. I mean, there's a lot of really tremendous teachers there in the Farmington School District, and then at the middle school, I've got a number of. I don't know. You may remember Scott Doty from West County. Scott's a social studies teacher in our building, does a great job. Jared Howe, guys like that. Brad Barron, Jamie Sutherland, Brady Burwell. We have so many. Honestly, I mean, I could just go through and name the faculty. Anybody. There are so many. And here's the thing. I know in our school district, we've gotten to a point to where when we hire people, we mean it when we tell them, you know, the number one job is to build a good relationship with kids, and then everything else will fall in place. And we have teachers in our buildings who have bought into that and believe in that. And so, you know, don't get me wrong, when they don't, it becomes apparent, and they move on, you know, and that's the way we do it. So I think it's a great philosophy to make sure the teachers know the number one thing is to have a great relationship with kids. And that doesn't mean let kids walk all over you.
Right.
That means be kind, be respectful. Have your standards. Make sure you have your classroom standards in place. And there's these things. There's no wiggle room. But you can be consistent in your classroom and still be kind. And that's what we ask teachers to do. And I think we have teachers building a great relationship with kids. So those are just a few teachers I named. And I apologize to people I left out because there's a number of really good teachers in those buildings. And I've just been in the high school and middle school, so we have tremendous teachers in the elementary as well. So
if you weren't in education, what would your profession be?
you know, I didn't want to go to college right out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I went to college was to give baseball.
Well,
That was the only reason I went. So I wanted to get into construction, and I wanted to work outside. And so that's what I really wanted to do, which is funny because I'm not really all that good at building things, but I really felt like I wanted to work outdoors. And I'm glad I didn't do that because honestly, I'm right now 47 years old. If I had to get up and go to work outside when it was freezing cold, or you know when it's 105 degrees in the summer, that would be miserable. And so I went to college, and it's funny because I worked with Chris Landrum at Mac. Chris ran the careers program over there at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I really didn't know what I wanted to do because I didn't want to go to college, so I had no plan. And that's when we really got to the decision that education would be a good choice. Sorry, because coaches and teachers have met so much too in it. And I really enjoyed social studies in that, so I'd settled on social studies to teach.
Great. I think you've answered my final question about this.
Sorry.
If you were coming into UniTec as a junior and you got to pick any of the programs, which one would you take?
Well, now it would not be concerning. I
Right,
really
yeah,
like
yeah.
the digital media stuff now.
Hey.
Now that my son's been involved in that, and he's really taken off now. He's actually going to major in digital marketing at Southwest Baptist University.
Great.
And I like what he's doing with that stuff. It is very creative. It's fun. I think I would explore that if I was coming to UniTec. I really would. That's not just a plug for the program. It's just something I know something about now through watching Max interact in this, and he has a lot of the conversations that they have, and a lot of stuff I see him working on even at home on her. He'll get on her computer and do a lot of this stuff. So it's pretty interesting. I think that would be an avenue that I would explore. I don't know that I would be any good at it, but I think I would explore it.
Awesome. I think you'd be great, buddy.
I don't know that I would be, but I think it would be fun to try.
Excellent. Hey, you're off the hot seat.
All
Good
right.
job, my friend.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Todd McKinney, hot seat from Farmington Middle School, joining us here on the UniTec YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe for more fun videos.